How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Talk4 Podcast. So excited to have you here today and show you this fantastic episode. Just want to say quickly that episodes like this one and all the ones before and the ones in future are made possible by people who subscribe. Hopefully, just like you. I'm going to ask you today if you can leave a subscribe, leave a follow, leave a rating, leave a like or a comment, and just support the show in the little ways that you can, like that. It makes a huge difference on my end. And quickly, just want to plug as well. I've taken 30 of the best episodes of this podcast and turned them into a fantastic book that goes into 150 secrets to greatness. Each one of those 30 episodes gets crunched down into 5 of the best key takeaways from the whole talk and turns them into a fantastic book. Highly recommend you check it out. Please support the show by grabbing a copy, either a paperback or an ebook. And I can't wait to show you guys this one today. So guys, without further ado, let's get over to the episode. How's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 163 of Talk4, the quickfire podcast where we ask 4 great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today is your host, Skupien. That's me. Let me introduce our special guest for today. Dave Munson is going to be answering our questions today. So, Dave, welcome to the show, man. I'm so glad to have you here. How are you doing today? I heard it's quite early over there.
Louis, this is great to be on. Thank you for having me. Yeah, we're here in Texas. It's early in the morning, and I'm doing just fine.
That's great. Well, you know what? A fantastic leather company would have to be based in Texas now, wouldn't it?
Lots of cows around here.
Damn
That's
right.
for sure.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to visiting one day soon, and I'll have to drop by and see what you guys are up to over there. But anyway, look, let's get people introduced. We alluded to it there, but we always do the elevator pitch right at the front end of this podcast, and we're going to dig into 4 really great questions I'm looking down at here. I'm very excited about it. So to begin with, elevator pitch, maybe, a minute or 2 minutes, just a bit of a snapshot into the life of you. So day job, business, what you're all about, where you're based, these kinds of things. And we'll go out of there and we'll hit the big questions after that. So yeah, start us off on the snapshot and then we're going to move out of there.
Yeah, so I'm a father of 2 kids, and I've got an amazing wife. Oh my gosh, Suzette. With a ball of fire comes more interesting things. We live in tents. We've lived in tents in Texas, in North Texas, for about 10 years. But they're really nice, like safari tents, so don't feel sorry for us. We have hardwood floors and, air conditioning and stuff, but canvas tents. I've got a leather company and named Saddleback Leather, and I started it about 22 years ago. And our slogan is, "They'll fight over it when you're dead." And so when I had my first bag made down in Mexico, I said, "Hey, I want it so that when I'm dead in the grave, that my grandkids will be like rummaging through my office, through my study, and they'll find the bag and they'll start fighting over it. I want it. No, I want it. It's mine. I get it." So we make no breakable parts, 100-year warranty, and actually we're a people business, cleverly disguised as a leather bag company. So we love our people. We have our factory in Mexico, and with marriage classes, parenting classes. We have a school there, all in English for the kids of the employees in the neighborhood, and it's like no other. So we love what we do.
Flipping awesome, man. I love it. And I think we mentioned, obviously, before we got on the podcast, so many of the values in quality products like these. And it just speaks volumes to my upbringing as well, and the values I uphold as well. Just, the world is saturated with these mass produced things now that are low quality, don't last long, and are designed to be cheap and sold to the masses. And, companies like yours, which are, local, honest, ran by people like yourself and doing good work to make things that are quality nowadays, I think need to be supported. And I'd love to get to the beginning of that then. So journey from sketching a single leather bag in a Mexican shop to building Saddleback Leather into a globally recognized brand is obviously absolutely remarkable. So can you take us through the early days and some of the pivotal moments that shaped your entrepreneurial path and kind of what the backstory of the brand really is then?
Yeah. So in 1999, well, in 1996, I was a youth pastor, got a degree in theology, and I got burned out. So in '99, I went down to Mexico to teach English, volunteer with a bunch of youth because I love youth, and thought I'd speak Spanish and that sort of thing. So I needed a bag to carry my books, and I thought, what would Indiana Jones carry? And so That's an obvious question. So I had this bag in my head like he would carry it, but I couldn't find one in any of the markets. But I found a guy making leather bags, and so I sketched it out, what I saw in my head, and he made it. I said, no breakable parts. I want it really simple. I want it really heavy duty. And, um, so they'll fight over, when I'm dead. And he made it. And everywhere I went with it, I mean, everywhere I went, people would go, "Oh my gosh, sir, where'd you get that bag?" When I got back up to the States, where could I buy one of those? And so anyway, I moved back down, had some more bags made. I ended up in Juarez, living on a border town of the United States in a real slummy part of the world, Juarez, Mexico. And this father and son would send me bags up on the bus to the bus station, and I would go get them, and I'd cross over into El Paso, Texas, and sell them on eBay. And it was just my dog and I had a Labrador Retriever. He's the logo now. And we slept on the floor of a little $100 a month apartment for about 3 years with no hot water. And and it was brutal. But it was some of the best times of my life. Anyway, so 2000, so I met my wife on MySpace, if you remember MySpace, in 2006. And she found me there. In 2008, we started a factory. We got married real quick and started a factory in Mexico. And because no one cares about as much about your stuff as much as you do. And then it's just been going ever since. And that's the background. We did a pickup truck with Toyota. They asked me to design the interior of their truck. We did 1,500 units, and it was beautiful. It's really cool. And yeah, we've been in Rolls-Royce, asked us to be in the coffee table book um, of theirs, and we're the official leather goods of the Texas Rangers baseball team. So we've been really blessed. God has been kind to us, and so we just love what we do.
That's great. Really, really great. So if the business was on the public market, let's say, for example, and I was looking at that stock trend over the last few years, has it been like a slow progression, or has there been like some massive spike or something that happened which really blew things up for you? And yeah, any stories behind that? One thing I've noticed as well is that your branding, the way you market and your slogans and stuff, it's really unique and really unique to you. And I think that's a breath of fresh air as well. There's nothing, cheesy about it. It comes off with good humor and feels good. So I imagine you've kind of got the best of both worlds, where you can build that customer base and that loyalty and build this kind of reputable brand, but also you kind of must have had a few big pickup moments as well, like you said, the Rangers. So yeah, how would that trajectory look over the last decade or so?
You know, I don't really, so maybe I'm a little odd, but I don't really want to grow my business. Which a lot of people really like, we got to grow, 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 grow or die, grow or die. And I'm thinking maybe we should shrink it down a little bit. And so we've kind of been working towards that. We just dropped a lot of different SKUs and a lot of products. And because I want to enjoy my life, and I really like the way it is right now. And if I'm just trying to chase money, 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 how can we grow, grow, grow? So what? So I can look impressive to people, or so that I can have more money and then I'll be happy? Like, I think that's a big lie that people chase. And so I enjoy what we do, and so we've been COVID was brutal on us. COVID was awful. People weren't buying go to business meeting bags, briefcases, or valises, or duffel bags. They weren't, because traveling bags, nobody was doing anything. So that was pretty brutal, but we've come back out of that. And yeah, so we're not really pursuing that it's been fairly level. We just have everything's word of mouth for the most part. And yeah, we just enjoy what we do.
It's interesting. I guess that's quite unconventional in the world today. Everyone's always thinking about mass growth, and I suppose that's where you sort of lose track of the quality sometimes when you're trying to grow and expand so much that you start losing the authenticity of it and stuff too. You know what else is a little bit unauthentic, I suppose, or sorry, very authentic in other words. Like you said, living in safari tents in Fort Worth, Texas. So I'd love to know, for a CEO, that's not how it usually goes, man. But I'd love to know. Now, don't get me wrong. I think you're living the flipping dream. That is exactly what I want to do. But I would love to know how you feel like that lifestyle has kind of influenced your perspective on business, family, and just your personal resilience, essentially, too. So, yeah, what's that done for your mindset?
Yeah, there's something about I read studies about people who walk about in nature, um, on a break from work, and how they take tests afterwards on creativity and these different things, and they always score higher on tests than people who just stay in the break room during their break. So nature does something to us. We're wired to be out in it, and it's beautiful, and there's something about like giving a breath of fresh air to your brain. And so we live out in nature, and I'll be walking between back and we have a four tents on a crescent shape deck system with a pond in front of us, and so and then we're out in the country, and so at night sometimes I'll see a shooting star, or I'm always looking up to see if I can see Orion's belt, or one of these constellations, and you see the full moon, or you see beautiful clouds. It's like your brain takes a breather being here. And it's really, we wanted to build a house at first, and we were going to build a house. We had all the architectural plans drawn, and I was like, God, I want the coolest house ever. That's what I prayed with this house. And then we built the tents, kind of like a temporary place. It would be Saddleback offices while we were building the house. And so I got all the plans done with the architect. And then the kids were like, do we have to move into a house? And we're happy here. This is really cool. You hear owls at night hooting, and you hear rabbits being taken up into the clouds, into the sky by owls, and just really cool coyotes. And we didn't want to give it up. And so we canceled the house, and we been living in the tents.
I guess you got the dream then. That's really awesome. So, next question is about these products. Now, I'm really, really keen to get into this. So, your products are known for being almost indestructible, as you'd mentioned, surviving everything from motorcycle wrecks, jungle adventures, and decades of use. Like you said, 100-year warranty. Like that's a flipping long time, man. How do you translate these real-world experiences into the design and quality standards of Saddleback Leather? So, what was that design process? How were they so durable? Bits like that.
Yeah, so I had my first bag made, with, of course, no zippers or snaps or any other breakable parts, and and then I liked it, but I didn't know much about it. I was just a youth pastor, right? I was just a theologian. I didn't know how to design anything. So I met this old man because the first guy who made the bag cheated me, and so I found this other guy, and he was like the godfather of leatherwork. He had been trained since he was 12 doing leatherwork by his grandfather, who trained his father, trained him. And he was, in his late 60s, and he said, "Hey," I said, "can you make this bag? I need more of them." And he said, "Well, yeah, but what if we reinforced this? Would you be okay with that? And what if we, here's where they usually break, and here's where they fall apart." So he, this old man, Don David, like the Don of the family, um, Don David, he adjusted and tweaked, and he gave me this bag that was like, wow, it's super strong and durable. And he said, but from all of his experience, he did that. And then when I would use it, I'd go, man, I'm really missing a pocket here, or this is a little uncomfortable here. And so that bag, I have like 26 years of tweaking it. Um, and now it is what it is, because I think it's like absolutely perfect now. But I've had, I don't know how many changes to it, 10 or 12 different editions of it. Um, and so what I like to do is I create things, and then I'll launch it, and I'll use it, and other people will use it. I'll hear feedback. I'll either discontinue it, even though people love it, or I'll just keep on making it better. I'll discontinue it for a little bit, make it better, bring it back, and it just keep on. The way you get good at taking pictures is by taking pictures, and the way you get good at playing guitar is by playing guitar. You can't just read books about it. The way you get good at designing is just by putting your time in and designing. So generally, the bags we have now many, many years of just refinement and working on them and getting them better and better.
Definitely. So in all those years of doing that, so obviously, a very authentic brand story there and everything too. But for people listening in, I know there's a lot of people who listen in who are high performance, looking for people to speak on entrepreneurship and things that they can take away from these talks as well. So just in that experience there too, obviously you've had a unique experience with your one, but some of those maybe non-negotiable principles or lessons you've learned from just decades of hands-on entrepreneurship. I think one of the things I'm noticing as well is that your story seems to inspire the fact that you're very hands-on with it yourself, and even decades down the line now you're still very much involved in the business too, but you've obviously had to adapt and grow a team to scale things up and everything, and you can't do it all yourself, right? So what are some of those lessons that we can take away from your story with this?
Yeah, um, so I've had some people steal a lot of money from me at different times, a few different people, and I decided not to. The FBI even got involved in one of them, and it was a mess. And so what I learned is I was kind of like, oh, hands off on things at first. I'll just design and go around the world and do videos and photos of, of bags and cool places. And then I needed to get more involved because when you have total authority, so power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so when someone had all the authority, no one was watching them, it tended to, if they don't have the character to handle it, it tends to be too much for people to handle. And so what we started doing was a project management system. Oh my gosh, it's called Traction, and it's super popular, Traction. And so you don't have to have a general manager and then directors and then supervisors and then employees. And so you just have a flat organization. It's called Traction, and it's super easy. The EOS is what it's called. And so we use that in at our factory in Mexico, and everyone just holds everyone accountable every week, and it's super fantastic. And then we do use it up in the US too, and we use it in the marketing department. Everyone holds everyone else accountable for getting things done, and no one has all authority but me. So, yeah, anyway, that's been really helpful. Here's the other one. This is super big. So, there was a man in the US named Zig Ziglar. You ever heard of him?
You know what, that
Um,
rings a bell, but do catch us up, especially if someone's listening and who doesn't know.
yeah, so man, Zig Ziglar, and in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000, when they would do a poll in the United States to see, who was the most successful person or people in America, he was always number one on the list, Zig Ziglar. He was a motivational speaker and he's taught on success and that sort of thing. And so I got to have lunch with the guy like when he was 82 and he was about to die, and super sharp mind. And there were just six of us. I sat right across from him and I said, and this is super important. I said, if all of your 33 books or 30 some odd books went away and all your DVDs and all your programs and training went away, and you could only leave us with one thing, what would you leave us with? What book, what would you write in your book? And he said, oh, that's easy. Court your spouse because success starts at home. He said, encourage everyone. And then he said, try to help everyone around you to be as successful as they can be. And he said, if you do those things, it'll all just come together. You'll have everything you ever dreamed or wanted. So his success is to make everyone else around you to be as successful as they can possibly be. And so I try to do that with our customers. So I'll talk about our marriage counselor. And they're like, dude, you go to marriage counseling? Are you getting divorced or something? What's going on? I go, no, but I want to have a better marriage. And I'll give parenting tips now and then in a newsletter. I'll tell people about my cool relationship with God if they want. I'll talk about I talk about things that have really benefited me and given me fulfillment. And then I'll talk about we instead of spending money on Google ads and all that sort of thing, we spend money on our customers to try to make them happy, to try to help them be more successful, and generosity and all these things. And then and then they say, well, I want to thank you. I want to talk about you. like I've benefited from being connected to your company. And so so then you get word of mouth. And that's not why I did it as word of mouth, but it's because I genuinely care about people. I'm a jerk sometimes and I'm self-centered sometimes. I try not to be, but I generally believe that like people's in relationships, that's where it's at in life. And if that's not your number one thing in business, if you're just like, I just want me to look good and be impressive and I just above even your family, if you're workaholic, man, watch out. If you don't care about the self of your wife and kids, you just care about yourself, man, like that's not success. And I was thinking about it. Like my daughter, she just turned 18 and she's real pretty and all the boys like her. And I was thinking, would I want my daughter to marry someone who's super filthy rich? Name the filthy rich person on earth that you know. And would I want her to marry him or someone like him? Like a president or like a head of a technology company, and they're no way. So if I wouldn't want my daughter to marry you, then I would say you're not successful.
Good points. Really good points there. I appreciate it. Something else that I heard you talk about as well, which I thought was really good, and I wanted to highlight here in this chat. So I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier today, actually, while I was training at the gym, and you spoke a little bit about something to do with the branding, which I thought was quite interesting and not something I'd heard of really too much of before. But you said that you completely disregard any kind of discounts or let's go cheap for this, or you can get discount day this, etc., etc. And it's more about the okay, well, if you get this, then we're going to provide more value with this and stuff too. And I think you may have said that the cheapening of it and these massive offers and discount days and stuff is actually the death of a brand. Can you talk a little bit about that for me, please? Because I feel like in branding nowadays and even personal services, it's so easy to get sucked into, right, let's run a discount and let's just try and sell a load here because it's a special day of the year and stuff, and everyone's going to want to buy things and blah, blah, blah. So could you tell me a little bit about that philosophy and why maybe holding on to that and staying steadfast might actually benefit a brand long term or even short term?
Yeah, I was reading about a brand called Kate Spade, and they do women's purses and that sort of thing. And the company Coach bought them for $2.3 billion. And and that's interesting. And then Kate Spade 1 year later committed suicide after she became a billionaire. That's interesting. But um, the what they said was they knew it was in trouble because it was constant sales, 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 sales. We got to have a sale, and then it all leads down to the lowest price of the year sale. And so what they did is they bought it, and they knew for that they would take 8 months before people got unaddicted to the sales. And so they they had no sales, and people were like, "Hey, when are you going to have a sale? Are you having a Memorial Day sale, a Labor Day sale? Are you having a Christmas sale, a Fourth of July sale, whatever thing?" And they said it took 8 months. Sales were really down because everybody was hanging out waiting for a sale. But then it went back, and it went back up to normal again. But they said it was painful for 8 months. Um, and so it has like a desperation feel to it. And that's usually what happens with when venture capitalists get involved in a business and the investors get involved and they want money, 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 money. It drives them. That's all they want is money, money at whatever the cost. And then that brand just falls apart, they throw it away, and they go to the next one. And so it becomes Eddie Bauer, you know. Eddie Bauer used to be this fantastic mountain man brand. It was really cool. So as soon as venture capitalists get involved or it becomes publicly traded, it's all about the money and boom, it goes down. That's when you start seeing sales left and right, desperation, and then the next thing is bankruptcy. So also when you sell, so what I like to do stuff sometimes we'll do mystery boxes because everyone wants a good deal, right? Everybody, I like a good deal. And so we give a mystery box out for a certain low price and we add extra stuff in. And people are like, dude, this is awesome. So it's kind of rewarding people sometimes to do something cool. But if I'm gonna, I would rather sell a a briefcase for 600, 700, $800 um, instead, and give a $100 worth of leather away to someone than give them a 10% discount. Or I'd rather give $200 away of just like, hey, you get this, it goes really well with these things, and I'll give this to you on top of it if you buy it. I would rather add value to it than to discount.
Definitely. I like it. So going back to the brand story a little bit and talking about Saddleback. So where it started, looking at the brand story, like I said, looks like it started as eBay sales to now, as you mentioned at the beginning, partnerships with Toyota, MLB. It's really great. So also looking at this and these numbers here, you've obviously cultivated a loyal fan base of over 250,000. Now, doing the maths there, you're saying, well, maybe we need to scale down. And I can understand that if you've got like such a big, number of customers and fans, following this business and stuff too. But ultimately, you would have had to have scaled from the ground up of this thing to get it to the point where you could actually descale it then too. So what would you say some of the key strategies or philosophies were that kind of helped you scale the business basically without compromising the values of the craftsmanship that make it unique? So it's obviously got this story that's endured and this personality to it. During that upscale and making a factory and all these things, how did you keep your vision true during all that?
So I'm really glad you brought that up. And what you just said, keep your vision true, is to have a vision. And do you have to? So the way I see it is if you were in London and you're living there and you said, one day I'm going to live in Portugal. One day I'm going to live on the coast and I'm going to surf those big 100-foot waves there. And I'm just going to like every day just be surfing and fishing. I'm going to build my own house, and you can see that, right? And let's say you could only walk. You couldn't ride anything. You could only walk to where you're going. And someone says, "Hey, Louis, I got this job for you over in Belgium." And you go, and someone else goes, "Hey, I got one for you in the south of France." Like they go, "But the one in Belgium pays way more money." And oh man, you're gonna be set. And you go, "Well, I'll take the one in the south of France because I know it's heading toward where I want to go, where I see myself one day, my vision for my life." And then someone else, the next year, someone goes, "Oh, dude, Louis, there's this job in Frankfurt. Oh my goodness, you'll be like super famous and all this money. It's gonna be great." And someone else says, "Well, we have this job in Spain. If you wanted it, I think it's okay." But you go, "Dude, it's taking me closer to Portugal. That's where I'm going." Anyway, it helps you make decisions to stay true to where you're going, is to have a really strong vision. I wrote a book called The Fight Over When You're Dead, and about how we started the story. A Mexican federal policeman someone sent him to kill me, and we were vacationing with terrorists, Al-Shabaab terrorists, on accident with the family, and different things like that. But in there I put in how to do a vision, and really try to use really simple. I'm talking to a 10-year-old, just to make sure people get it, because I didn't understand it, even though people talked over my head. Until I got some vision coaches and stuff, and they helped me. But it's super helpful to have a vision. Um, Also, and then when you share the vision with people around you, this is who we are and this is where we're going. Man, they get on board with you. And so they go, "Hey, let's have some more sales. We'll have more sales. We'll have more sales." And we said, "Well, in our vision is 25% profitability." And they go, "Oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't fit with the vision, does it?" And we want to, and in the vision, if you're constantly having sales and, "Hey, let's create stuff with zippers and magnets, and we can make it cheaper," it doesn't fit with the vision, you know? And so you keep the vision strong and you always talk about the vision. And it has to be like 4 sentences or 3 sentences so everyone can memorize it and everyone knows it. And then no one goes against it.
Good philosophy.
And also, if you own your own manufacturing, oh my gosh, that's so great. So I'm able to, I have our own design department. So I'm able to design things that I want. Um, and I can waste money on it and I can try 10 different versions of it. There's no like, it's just, it's my own thing and I can play around there. And when I have to get it done in two shots or three shots, it doesn't work. And sometimes like the different cases that we do, leather cases or trunks or things, it'll take 10 tries. Um, but it but it ends up being really beautiful.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
anyway, there you go.
So sounds like what you're referring to there kind of refers to not only just the brand's vision, but also your own vision stuff too. And from everything we've gathered from you so far, it sounds like there's been bumps in the road, right? So you've had COVID, you've had, you lost some money a couple of times by the sounds of it. There's been big bumps in the road. I imagine those are the kinds of things that can really alter that vision or at least shake those visions. So I'd love to just know a little bit about your philosophy towards just dealing with some of those hard times, how you stayed true to it. Did you have to evolve and adapt to overcome those challenges? Yeah, just a little bit about how you kind of went through them and, found your way out the back end of it, obviously doing really well right now.
Yeah, um, so if you start a business, you're really starting a problem solving business. No matter what it is, it's a problem solving business. And so it's all about your mindset. It can be glass half full or glass half empty. So when I lost millions of dollars to some people, different people, man, that was painful. Oh my gosh, and stabbing in the back and FBI offices and interviews and all this junk that went with it. And it was stressful and man, did I learn a ton. I learned a ton. And so, but the thing about it is to be thankful because the if you have a thankful heart, that's key. And like, man, I'm not thankful that it happened, but I'm thankful from the results that happened that came from it. And so having a heart of gratitude in everything. And so even exercising that with my wife, honey, I'm thankful for you. And my kids, I'm so thankful that I have a kid like you. And I'm just being thankful for what the blessings that God's poured out on us and being thankful for these tents and being thankful for my employees. And once it becomes part of who you are, they say an action begets another action, which begets another action. And so you do something and then you do it again and you do it again. And pretty soon an action becomes a habit, begets a habit, and then a habit begets a character. And so even if you're not a thankful person, I would say start by being thankful. And we had a miscarriage one time, and that's if the family hasn't had one, it's not a big deal. But if you've had one, and you're really sympathetic. And but I wasn't thankful for that, but I'm thankful for what came from it. And so, hard times shape our character, and they shape who we are, and we grow in wisdom. And so, someone who never has hard times or troubles, they don't grow in wisdom and they don't have a strong character. And so it's only through those things, through difficulty, that we grow. And so, if you take a cocoon, a butterfly in a cocoon, and you open it, you see it trying to get out and wiggle out, and you open the cocoon, it and the butterfly just comes out. It never develops because it has to struggle to become this beautiful butterfly. And so we don't want an easy life. If you want to if it's easy now, it'll be harder later. If it's harder now, it'll be easier later. And so I walk in that hope, and I know that God's in charge of all things. And so I just count that. I believe it's true. And so he puts me through things as tests.
Yeah. I really like the vision. I really like it. It's a powerful thing that you've done and that you're doing. And something I want to tie in with this as well is obviously, yeah, I can imagine going through some of the losses like that too and losing money to people and quite easy to close up the giving and the trust shop of your own personal life when you go through experiences like that. But it looks like you've done some really great community work too. So beyond the business, meaningful community work, including projects in Rwanda. Could you just tell us a little bit about some of those as well, just what some of the vision is there with that as well, what you're doing and how you've had an effect and how you're giving back to the community as well, not just obviously running a business?
Yeah, so joy comes from a huge source of joy is relationships, and relationships are where it's at. And actually it brings a lot of joy to be generous. And so, but to be others focused, like Zig Ziglar said, try to help everyone around you to be as successful as they can be. So, um, yeah, so we went over to Rwanda in 2010 to visit, where we were given some money to this organization, Africa New Life, and it's like kind of like Compassion International or World Vision. So we went over there. Oh my gosh, I was shocked. So in 1994, they had 1 million people killed in about 90 days, just hacked with machetes and executed, shots, and it was awful. So you can imagine in 2010, 16 years later, there were just a whole bunch of orphans, and actually the genocide kept on going until 98, but the majority of it was over in 94. And so as you can imagine, a lot of rapes, a lot of orphans, a lot of murder. It was awful. It was a horrible place. And we go over there, and there was these little kids, and I thought, um, oh boy, they're just running around and living in the dump, eating trash from the restaurants that they dump in there. And I thought, if I was laying there, if my wife Suzette and I were laying there, dead in a pool of blood, and my little kids, 1 and 3, were standing there trying to wake us up, and they were scared and hungry and thirsty, and they were crying, and they started wandering the streets. I thought, would I want someone to come and take care of my kids? You bet I would. To send a check, or even better, to come and hug their necks and love them. And so that really shook me up. I mean, shook me. I'm not a crier, but boy, I mean, I was a mess over there. So we've since taken about 400 people over to Rwanda and to visit their sponsored kids. And it wrecks them, and it changes them. So anyway, Rwanda, it really impacted us, and we wanted others to be impacted too. We wanted others to take their mind off of their own self and to maybe get their self on, start training that thinking and that heart for others. And it really works every time. There's not one person who goes over whose heart isn't changed. And so we do that. We're very involved in Africa and Rwanda. And then we're very involved at our factory in Mexico. We have a school. It's a homeschool in the US. Like I think it's like 12-15% of kids are homeschooled, and so we have a homeschool school in Mexico, and so the kids are getting this English program. It's all English. They would never be able to uh, to study English otherwise, or even probably wouldn't even finish sixth grade. And so they're all fluent in English now, and learning a really logic-based education. Um, and so we feel it's easier to mold clay than it is to bust bricks
Mm.
and working with kids over parents. And so you love your parent, love me, love my dog kind of thing. Man, if you want to love me, love my kids. And so we pour into the people's kids. That's a big one. And with this, actually, next month starts up the old English program where I was first teaching English at a place called Centro Noe, with Noe International. And so they're opening up in our school in the afternoons for like a super cheap English program. It's really fantastic. So yeah, so we love our people. We have marriage classes and parenting classes for our employees. We have financial classes. Um, yeah, it's really cool. Our people, they love us, and because they know we love them.
That's great. So what's next then? So you spoke a lot about the vision. Are you there now with it, or is there a next part to this vision? For Saddleback Leather, anything that's on the slate coming up soon, whether that's new products or experiences or just something for the community and or the brand's community and for you as well. What's coming up? What's the next part of this vision in the story that you're writing here?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so we have a couple of things. So in 2020, I, during COVID, a friend of mine who's a British guy, and he's a famous shoe designer. And so, he he made me a pair of boots. He was staying at my house in Mexico by the factory, and he was already down there working on shoes. In our town, they make a lot of shoes. And so I said, Julian, why don't you come and just work or live in our house and ride out this little COVID thing, this whatever this little cough that's going around. And and so he did, and out of gratitude, he just wanted to make me a pair of shoes. So he traced out my foot and he made a pair of boots. And they were like the nicest boots that I've ever owned. I was like, oh my gosh, my feet look like $1,000,000. And so and I started dressing nicer and I kind of puffing my chest out a little more, raised my chin a little, because everyone's like, dude, love your new style, because I had to dress nicer for the boots and lace-up boots. And they're an old military boot from World War One. And then after like 4 or 5 months, I was like, hey, wait a second. My knee pain all went away. What's up with that? Because I'm 54 now. So that was like, I was like 49. And I was like, wait a sec, all my knee pain's gone. And my hips, they don't bother me anymore at night sometimes. And my Achilles tendon and all that. I was like, Julian, did this did the boots do this? And he said, yeah. He said, actually, most of his clients, Steven Spielberg and different people, will say that their backs feel better because of the boots. It's like an orthopedic boot. And it fixes and apparently it fixed all of the problems in the military, U.S. military. All foot problems all went away because of the boots. And so these were an orthopedic. They've since gone away because they're too hard to make. So we went. I was like, okay, we're getting into boots because people got to know about this. And so we've gone into shoes and boots, which is a major. It's a big deal. I didn't know how big a deal it is until I got into that world. But we just try to do really excessively high quality um, boots that are made in Italy because they're the only ones who can make them that we could find. And there's a small workshop there that makes them for us. And but they help people. They just help people. They correct your feet, which corrects your back and your hips and your knees and all of that stuff. So that's a really big deal for us. I launched the book in July 1st, and that's a big deal. Man, hat tip to people who write books. Oh my gosh. Have you written a book, Louis?
I have, yeah. Wow, what a flipping process that was, eh?
Oh my gosh. When did you write it?
It launched in December last year. It did really well, but actually it was based off of 30 episodes of the podcast and turned them into kind of the key takeaways from each of those talks and sort of distill what was now a conversation with the highest performers in the world into the key takeaways. So 5 key takeaway points from the conversation, how to actually go and apply them into your life. And man, sitting through the transcripts of all those podcasts and making those notes, that's a process and a half right there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's it called? What's the name?
It's got 150 secrets to greatness, and it's actually wrong hand, just sitting up there, right there. So on Amazon, it did really well. It was, I think, it hit #2 bestseller on Amazon, and hit a load of good category wins and stuff, and was like a hot #1 hottest new release as well on Amazon. So it did great. But anyway, hang on, this isn't my podcast; it's your podcast. Let's about your one.
No, I want to know about it. That's really cool. Yeah. So ours just launched. It made I've been talking to people, and you know how this goes, Louis. When people go, "Hey, They go, "Hey, I read your book. You did a good job. It's nice and stuff." You can't really tell, if they're really telling the truth. But I've been getting good feedback. People are buying it for other people, and we have a really interesting story, and then I try to help people to do marketing and that sort of thing, and do branding, and then how to run a business by the numbers. And I didn't know what that was like. I didn't know how to do it because I was like, yeah, of course, run it by the numbers, uh-huh. But I didn't know what that meant until recently. So I added that and really trying to make it really dumb it down for people like myself. But yeah, so we got the shoes, and then we have Indiana Jones, right? Indiana Jones is our style. More, it's a university professor or a lawyer use it, but I'm doing James Bond now. I thought you'd appreciate that, being British. So
Oh
we're doing
yeah.
we're doing James Bond, and that comes out, I'm hoping in October. And that's been about 14 years of designing, and not, everyday designing, but 14 years of just letting it marinate and think about. And so that collection's a little more refined. It's kind of what James Bond would carry through a casino or into a meeting with, with that cool stuff. Uh, so I walked Bond Street in London a couple of times and just went through all the shops and stuff. And I was like, only Swain was the only one that I saw that was competition. I didn't see anything that I wanted myself. And so for that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so that's a silverback, and then the boots, and we're doing a whole bunch of different styles of the boots, but they're all orthopedic. They're all healing, make your feet think you're barefoot. And yeah, and then the book. Those are really big deals that are going on right now.
That's awesome. Well, that's the 4 questions. So I think that's a great place to roll the shameless plug out then. So where can we find all that then? So the boots, the website, the book, anything else you want to kind of promote. And you know what, I'd like to say in this moment too, if there's anything that you want people to take a look at or just something you believe in, this is the moment to do that. So beyond, just, the business stuff and the website and all the things you got going on, if there's anything in there that you feel like is essential reading or just something that you feel like would pitch into a good fight, feel free to promote away right now, and we'll leave them all in the descriptions.
Yeah. So I say, we've been married 18 years and 15 of those happily. And so the first 3 years were brutal. And we were fighting all the time until we read this book called Love and Respect. And it is the number one selling marriage book people buy for other people. It pulled my marriage back together. It pulled a lot of my friends who were on the edge of divorce. It got them back together, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And so it's a huge, huge impactor. And so love and respect is a great one, and how to influence or how to win friends and influence people. That is a biggie. And what he says is generally to be genuinely interested in other people. So learn to ask questions. That's a big one. So anyway, no, that's about what those are. That's all. And that is the most important things I could probably say. Um, we're building our headquarters right now. We're trying to go after the coolest headquarters in the whole world, and they're and not the most expensive or anything, but the coolest, and not the biggest. So we should be open in December, November, for people to come by and check it out. We're here in the Fort Worth area. If you happen to be coming through, Louis, I'd love to give you a personal tour through the tunnels and across the swinging bridges and the catwalks and the spiral staircases and all the cool stuff that go with it. So
Oh man.
we want to make it a really cool destination, but the coolest headquarters in the world is what we're going after.
That's awesome. I'd love to drop by one day. When my travels take me to Texas, I'll be right on the line to you. But Dave, all I want to say right now is just thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. Honestly, this has been such a great episode, an absolute pleasure having you on. And, thank you for, in a world of just saturated, awful products, thank you for doing something that's authentic, keeping a great vision and making quality, because that's what we need more of. And you guys are saving the world with that kind of a thing. Thank you.
Hey, Louis, thank you for doing what you're doing. You're impacting a lot of people's lives by letting them hear, some of the favorite tips of people. So appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
It's been great. Thank you guys for listening. This was episode 163. If you'd like to listen to the past episodes, go and have a look at the channel. And if you'd like to listen for the future ones too, make sure to hit that subscribe button and spread some love by leaving a like and a comment. Signing off for now. See you in that next one. Cheers.